Well, welcome everyone to this special webinar, Keeping the Festive Feeling All Year Round. And this is a sharing that Mark and I have been doing annually for the last few years. So we're delighted to be back at this time of year to support all of you and us too in living more from this feeling more of the time. So we just had a little miracle occur with the recording, and we're able to record now so that everybody can receive this replay. And we just invite you to kind of just sit back, relax, and enjoy the feeling that you drop into as Dr. Mark and I are here sharing. And we will open up for questions. We will open up for the opportunity for you to share with us too. But perhaps, Mark, a good place for us to start is just to really start off with, how is it that we can have festive feelings, not just during Christmas time?
Yeah, this is just wonderful to be with all of you and with Grace. And, it's a wonder, isn't it, that usually around this time of year, people get into, some beautiful feelings like generosity or gratitude. And in our announcement, there's even a song that emphasizes that this is a wonderful time of year. And we included that title of that song in our announcement because you see, it's what people think. There's something about this year that somehow allows us to have the feelings we all would love to live in. And I really saw the possibility early on in listening to my mentor, Sydney Banks, who really said, these feelings you can have all year round. They're yours. And it really resonated with me. And I saw so much possibility and hope that these feelings I can have anytime throughout the year. They're not just limited to this festive time of year. And well, isn't that something that's a possibility for all of us? As I began to look at that, Grace, and as we've talked about it together and shared, I just started to realize that, this time of year is kind of like gives me an excuse to, drop out of my usual troubled thinking or my thinking about myself. And as that happens, of course, I didn't know that at the time, but as we do that, then we just get filled with the beautiful feelings that lead to generosity and gratitude and love and understanding. And I started to realize, as you and I have talked and presented to people, we can have these feelings at any time if we could quiet our minds and not engage so much of our personal thinking. They're there for us. They're kind of how we are meant to live our lives. We're meant to live our lives in happiness and well-being and joy. I was just talking to someone yesterday who was talking about being troubled about having so much concern about someone in this person's life, and then started to talk about having a new job and enjoying it and loving it. And there were those feelings. there were the feelings of joy and love, were it not for thinking about what about this person's life with concern. So we just wanted, Grace and I just wanted to remind all of you that this is a beautiful time of the year for many people. It's a time to get into feelings that people usually don't associate with other times of the year, just sporadically coming to them throughout the rest of the year, and help people see you can have these feelings all year round. And it's just to see that that's available, just to sit in the possibility and the wonder that we're built to live in happiness and joy, love for the people around us and ourselves.
And I love the easiness of that, Mark. You know, I love that it's not dependent on anything changing on the outside. You know,
Yes.
as you're talking, I'm just noticing, like I literally caught myself feeling happy a few times lately. And I mean, like a deep happiness that it kind of like it didn't make sense because it's like, well, but there's no circumstances that suggest there, you know, that there should be a shift to happiness. And yet, I could notice that the habits of thought that I was usually living in were just quieting down, and that happiness just bubbled up like one thought away. And I decided to decorate my house early this year. Um, and I didn't know if I was going crazy or if I was just um, well, I don't know, I just kind of felt like it. And then a friend of mine here in Italy, and she didn't know I decorated my house, but she said we were having a lunch together, and she said, "Oh, you know, I was talking to a psychologist recently, and they said people that are happy put their decorations up early." And to me, it was just like
There's research around that.
there's research around this, yeah. So, you know, there's just something about us all seeing that, but for our habits of thought, and a lot of those thoughts, as Mark and I have discovered, tend to be about ourselves, tend to be flavored with insecurity. But for our habits of thought, we are happy. We are living in a festive feeling. Now, we don't want to beat up on ourselves when we're not, but we want to see that those feelings are just there as we quieten down, as Mark described.
We want you to see that this is for you today as we're together. This is what we have come to realize, and just want you to get more of a sense and kind of see it as being natural rather than an accident to fall into a feeling of love or joy. It's really for you. Again, you know, we're not denying that there are people in very painful circumstances, but really, any way that you could hold that or look at that for yourself is you need to be in a way in the place where you're in these beautiful feelings, because there's wisdom in these feelings. It will guide you. That's the other valuable aspect of opening up to happiness, is that it's not just that you have nice feelings, but the wisdom of life is contained in those feelings. That's when it's available to you. And that's when you really get that sense of taking a step in life and you feel this is right for me. I know this is right for me. So it's not just feelings, there's just this powerful wisdom we're born with, connected to, all of us. It becomes available to us as our minds quiet down and these beautiful feelings come into our consciousness. I was, again, listening to Sydney Banks. I listened to him a lot on video and audio tapes. And something he said that's really directed me. And he said, expect happiness. Live your life expecting happiness. Isn't that something? Because, see, we're at our best when we're in those feelings. And all of our beautiful attributes that give to ourselves and give to the world are contained in those feelings we're calling happiness, in those deep feelings of love and understanding. We can do no harm there. There's no way anyone could do any harm there. And so, the understanding of thought allows us to realize when, our thinking is taking us away from that, when we're looking at life in a way that we become judgmental or have opinions or get discouraged or create dissatisfaction, we can see what we're doing and know to bring ourselves back to these feelings, because this is where we're meant to live. This is where you'll know what's right for you in the next moment. In a way, it's kind of magical and in terms of how life looks when you're in these feelings, because things seem to come your way, or you just start to realize something you hadn't thought of before. For example, how to just be a more loving partner to somebody in your life, or how to be a more understanding parent, or how to connect better with the people around you. It just seems to occur to you magically. Or people come into your life that bring more of these good feelings. So I want to see that the wonderful potential of these feelings, that within these feelings is the intelligence you're looking for all of the questions you have about your life. All of your questions are answered in these feelings, not in your intellect. Isn't that a wonderful thing to discover? That's what I discovered when I heard Sid speak about having these holiday feelings. That's what he called them at the time. We're calling them festive feelings all year round. That that it's just so beautiful that they're there were it not for our thinking. So, yeah, nice to be with you all. Grace, anything you wanted to add?
Well, I think what was, equally helpful for me was just learning not to make decisions in a low mood. So when you said earlier, Dr. Mark, about, every answer we need is contained in these feelings, I'm brought back to the amount of times I innocently made decisions, especially about my relationship, when I was in a low feeling, not realizing that there was no juice there was no truth there. And at that time in my life, what made sense to me was just to leave the relationship, just to get away, You know, when you get bothered by people, and I think the festive season, let's face it, brings up a lot of being bothered by by people. Well, you know, there was this feeling bothered by my relationship, not realizing that that was a low mood, nothing to do with the relationship. And so innocently, I would, the best my wisdom could give me was leave. And on one occasion, I left for 3 days. And I remember waking up in this lovely feeling, and it occurred to me, why did we break up? Or rather, why did I leave? And, you know, we find ourselves reconnecting, we find ourselves together again. Now, luckily, I was with a man, Francesco, who was conscious enough to be able to realize, oh, she's up against a thought storm. This isn't personal. But just when you said, Mark, about, you know, that all of our, everything we need to know is in that good feeling, and just how innocent it is for many of us to go about our life making big decisions from a low feeling. Can you talk a little bit, because Mark and I have presented a few courses together, so I've heard this on a few occasions, but I'd love for you to share it with this group, Mark. Can you talk a little bit about just, you know, your experience sometimes of being bothered by people, because Christmas time can be that moment or that festive time where we're with a lot more family or we're with a lot more friends, and you saw something pretty huge around all of that.
Yeah, it keeps teaching me, and it's why I can share with confidence that if you could drop out of your bothered thinking, if you just know that that bothers just your thinking, these feelings will arrive and give you something. And I've shared some powerful stories in my life of how I saw that. You know, guidance beyond my own ideas about how to connect with someone that I'm bothered by, to where it moved from, you know, seeing a person as threatening to seeing a person as loving. But what came to mind, Grace, as you were sharing, is, you know, during this season, I do shopping. You know, I shop for gifts. And, you know, lo and behold, if you go into a retail store now, a shop in a major, you know, store to shop, which is becoming a rarity, but I love it. No, you're going to be there with a lot of other people. And in my infancy, with this understanding and having heard Sid talk about this festive feeling all year round, I'm in a long line at this popular, well-known department store. And I can see that the clerk is spending, in my mind, too much time with one, you know, one shopper. There's this whole line of shoppers. Why is this person spending so much time talking to the? So I am getting bothered. You know, you know, I start thinking, what's wrong with this store? I mean, why are they only having one clerk up there, you know? And then all of a sudden it dawned on me, Mark, you know, you're disturbing yourself. You're getting all caught up and getting judgmental and so forth. And with that, I quieted down. And what came to me as I realized, as I looked to the clerk again, free of being judgmental and bothered, that this shopper was really giving the person a tough time. And I could see that the clerk was getting stressed, was really caught up with how difficult it was. It seemed for me how difficult it was to handle this shopper, and my heart went out to her. And so I also got the thought, why don't you just relax here, let her take care of it? You could just talk to the person in front of you, make a connection. So all of this occurred to me once I dropped the bothered thinking, the judgments, because I recognized I was thinking those things and I was making myself disturbed. And these beautiful feelings started to come to me and guide me. When I got to the clerk, I just I was still feeling understanding and compassion, and I just said, I just told her, sorry, I'm sorry you had to go through what you went through, but he did a good job taking care of all of us, and you could see that all of the weight of that lifted off her. It wasn't so much what I said; it was the feeling. But that it's just simple like that these feelings are right there for you to live in, and with them come ways to take care of your circumstance, way beyond the thinking the way beyond the thinking I had. My thinking would have, I don't know, I may have just dropped all my packages and stormed out in a righteous state of mind had I left it up to my own thinking rather than my understanding. And I've seen that with all of the people that I mentored, who through this time of the year go home. And some people have had difficult relationships with family. But when they go home from this understanding, they really can get home with what look like difficult family members and have compassion, see that their family members are doing all they could too from their thinking. They're probably in low moods. That's why they're acting that way. So it's not to deny that some people in lives when you may go home to family might be difficult, but looking at them that way keeps you caught up in bother rather than letting these beautiful feelings guide you. So there's a story, Grace. I know there are other ones, but that just came to mind about shopping during this time of year.
Yeah. And what's coming to mind, you're so right, Mark, about going back to family with this understanding versus our habits of thought. I've really noticed that in my own life too. It's like, wow, it's a whole other experience, and they didn't have to change, but the understanding, just supporting that whole experience. I used to take it also personally if um my parents didn't want to do something in the short time that I was there. And I remember on one occasion I went home, and I went in to see my dad. He was in the kitchen and he had all these like financial papers all over the table. And I said, "Oh, Daddy, I'm going to go for a walk. Do you want to go?" And his habit was to respond quite, like, "No, you're always on holiday. I don't have time to go for a walk. Off you go. Look what's in front of me. Look what I have to do." And the old me would have been like jarred at that. But I just could see, okay, he's caught up in his financial thought or his habits of thought. I actually call it home thinking. I think there's a level of thought we have when we're in our own homes that we just don't have when we get out of the house. So I just saw he's in his home thinking, and off I went without taking it personal, without reacting to him. And I put my boots on, and I put my coat on. And interestingly, he came out of the kitchen and he said, I've changed my mind. I think I'll go with you for that walk. We were walking for maybe 5 minutes, 7 minutes at the most. And he was beginning to notice, oh, look at those birds. Aren't they beautiful? Or they only come out at this time of year. Look at the way the trees are changing. Isn't that lovely the way he was noticing his surroundings? He had dropped out of his habitual worried thinking and became present to the moment. The old me would have reacted to that sort of response from my father. And that's what's on offer here as we all interact with those that bother us or with those that we're close to, with those that are living life in low moods. What's on offer is that we get to keep our beautiful feeling. We don't have to lose it. And in fact, we can do more for all those around us just by living from that more of the time. The impact is so huge. It's so subtle, but it's so huge. So that's just an example that had come to mind.
You know, I love what you said at the end there, that we I want us to realize that when we are in these feelings, people feel it. It's not it's not to get in these feelings so people feel it. It's that there's an energy level here, really, an energy level, and people can feel your happiness as well as they can feel your sternness, you know. And you know, a story comes to mind where, you know, I worked in a medical center for 28 years as a psychologist, and in my department there were 30 professionals, psychiatrists, psychologists, psychiatric nurses, and I was you know, softly judgmental with my colleagues. And when I found this understanding and started to awaken these feelings and you know, these feelings of happiness and understanding for other people, I started to look at my colleagues through the lens of understanding, through the lens of loving feelings. And I just started to live that way in the clinic. And people noticed. You know, a couple of psychologists came up to me after a little while of my just living that way. You know, it wasn't like it was 24/7 in the clinic that way, but whenever I got a judgmental thought, it occurred to me that was my habit of thinking. See, it can occur to us that our thinking's off. Once we realize thinking has everything to do with the way we experience our lives, you see, the more we see that, it just occurs to us sooner. Our thinking's off, and then I can adjust myself back to these feelings. But anyhow, just to tell you about how your feeling emanates, and people notice the feeling in you and get impacted. Two psychologists came up to me and said, you know, we've been watching you, and you've been just in these beautiful feelings, and we want to know what you've learned. We want to live more in those feelings too. But you can see it for yourself. When you're living in the feelings of understanding and love and in happiness, people around you look different because you're thinking differently, but also they respond differently. We just want you to see some of these um, understandings we found, and just see if you could hold to the fact that it's possible for you and I, all of us, to live in the feelings of joy and generosity, compassion, love, beyond a certain time of the year, that it's truly how we're meant to live. And just to see innocently, not judging or trying to change anything. And again, the only thing that gets in the way is our human condition. We have habits of thinking that, Grace has been calling low mood thinking, troubled thinking, judgmental thinking. And just to see those take us away from the festive feelings that Grace and I are pointing to today. Hold that gently.
Does anyone have a question or a sharing at this point? Is there anything that might even look like the exception to you? Oh, yes, Pat, please come on. Yeah.
Thank you. Love the stories from you both. And I love that, Mark, about being in the store, because I've done that a few times myself, thinking, what the hell is she doing with that person talking? And then realised once it happened to me where I was thinking, for God's sake, she's spending all that time with this person. And then suddenly I realised what I was doing. And I had the thoughts, like wisdom was, well, maybe that's the only time that someone's actually talking to that lady. Maybe she lives on her, I had this different feeling and thinking come about, and I was actually then quite happy to stand there knowing that maybe this is all that lady has. So I get that. And then it was what Grace said. It's really touched me today, even though intellectually I've known a bit about it, was I too noticed, Grace, that sometimes I just go, I feel happy, and I'd feel just this beautiful feeling would come over me. And I would slightly go, what's that all about? Because I could be in the room on my own. So it wasn't like, because someone hadn't done something, they had done it and all that. I thought, and in the last couple of weeks, I've had a quite few of them, but I never really went any more into it. And it suddenly dawned on me after like 6 years in a deeper level that what it actually is so simple, is that I've actually dropped out of that, whatever the worrying thoughts that I was having, that I didn't even really know at the time I was having, because they were so habitual. I could have been walking around my front room, say, tidying up and having a moan. And it really has sort of struck me that it's because my mind had quietened down, because of that thinking had quietened down, that in that peaceful moment, I was in connection with my true self. And I could actually, in a nice way, really laugh, because it's so simple what you said, but sometimes that tiny simple can just hit you. And it's just hit me like a thing in the head, that really all it is that I was not in that worrying, habitual thinking. So I didn't have to do anything. It just stopped, and then all that wonderful feeling came to the surface. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share. That was just so profound for me for some reason today. That it lets you off the hook again. I don't have to do anything. I just have to be aware. Just be aware of what is going on. And the more I'm becoming aware, the more my life is becoming easier. And in exactly what you, Mark, said, I know I'm feeling the change, and my family are feeling the change, and they're saying it to me, and they're actually different as well. It's like the energy of love just comes out and it hits them, and then responses are all different. So lovely. Thank you both.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you. Great example. Mm-hmm. I love as well that you're noticing, um, that you're even noticing the moments of happiness. Because sometimes I wonder if we all have those, but we just don't notice. So I love that.
I think it's like appreciating that you've really, in those moments, you really are experiencing your true nature. Like having a moment of joy, you're there. That's where you're there, where what you're looking for in life. It's there. When two couples who have been having difficulties with one another have a moment of tenderness, they are there. They're in these deep feelings of our true nature. We just don't appreciate it, you see. We kind of go, oh, that was nice, but let's get back to business, which is like, how do I start feeling better? So it's really opening your eyes to appreciating the moments that you would say you've got a nice feeling. You're there. That's it. You're right there. So if you could nurture that like a garden, nurture it like you're planting, you're wanting new seeds to grow. Any little thing like that is you've touched. It's hard to express this, but your true nature is expressing itself. We tend to override it because, and me too, I just think Mark Howard knows better than the wisdom of life, and it's humorous when I wake up to that, once again, oh man, I thought I knew better than the intelligence of this universe that's guiding me, you see. But so what's helpful for me is to just appreciate a moment where I've got joy, or I have kindness, or I just feel nice, or those kinds of things. That in those moments you have touched the festive feelings. You're there. There's a hand up.
Oh yeah, let's go to Kinneret.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Um, I really enjoy the expect happiness. Uh, Live your life expecting happiness. I mean, it's true. It's true. And I know that I'm there when I, you know, when I'm not buying into whatever the machinery is doing, which is anything other than being in the appreciation of life. Yeah, and it's a process. I was sharing with Grace yesterday. I'm originally from Israel, and I've been and I used to teach classes, and the Muslim students have been coming to me with a lot of pain, I'm going to say, and anger about what's happening between Israel and the Palestinians in Gaza. And sometimes I lose my beautiful feeling and I get caught up for sure. And it might take me a few days to come back.
Mm-hmm.
People are just trying to pull me in directions, and then both ways, I'm going to say. And so if anyone would like to speak to that.
Well, first, I'm glad that resonated with you. It did with me. Sid saying, expect happiness. Isn't that something? to set out expecting happiness. Now, thoughts come in, we get pulled away from that. But I've learned to, when that resonate with me, when something he has shared about life has resonated with me, to just let it percolate and kind of keep an eye on that. And this really stood out for me that why not? Rather than expect a bad outcome, why not expect happiness? I'm carrying that. That's Mark Howard thinking about it. But the power is expect happiness. That's your birthright. Now, we also have this power of thought to see the pain in the world. You know, we're really looking at the low level of consciousness that a lot of the world lives in innocently, where there's pain and suffering, and people look to try to feel better by attacking. It's one of the ways people in really low levels of consciousness try to feel better. But we have thought that we see that, and it can affect us. And so, you know, we do what we can with our thinking, how we see things. And, you know, I always look to find a way to come back to hear what I might be guided, how I might be guided to understand this, how I might be guided to serve, if that's something I'm called to do. Even within my own community, in this whole area I live in the homelessness situation, I have thought that I see this and I feel so sad for human beings living this way. That's coming from the fact that I can think. And it takes me away. Sometimes I get caught up in it. I get into opinions and judgments and so forth, but I see it. I try to bring myself back to the feeling where the wisdom lies, to see what might occur to me to be of service. That's how I look at that, because there are atrocities. Atrocities have been going on since, I don't know, thousands of years, you know. It's just low levels of consciousness playing out. And what we can do really to contribute to the consciousness of the world is live in happiness, live with our level of understanding, bring ourselves back to love and understanding. There's energy there. It's going out in the world. But again, you know, you get caught up. You have thought to see things that are painful. They come in and touch you. And you always have the opportunity, though, to look to the wisdom to guide you to what you're seeing, in terms of how you might be able to serve that. So I hope that helps. For me, for the past 2 years, I've been having just things float to mind about how to create something in a city for homelessness. It hasn't materialized yet, but I know there's something I can see, and I want to serve that way, but I want to wait till I have something that really can speak to it truthfully, or, you know, powerfully, or, you know, with a form. So that's what I'm looking, that's how I'm serving. Something keeps popping to mind about creating something there. Anyhow, that's my thinking about what you shared.
And Kinnerit, you know what came to mind as well as you were sharing? It's like Sydney Banks in one of his early recordings. He said, "You can't give what you don't have. if you've only got $5 in your pocket, then that's all you can give. You can't give 100. And we can begin to respect the capacity we have in any moment to keep being of service. Because as Mark said, it's like, at least this is how I heard it, us being in a good feeling, living in well-being, living in happiness, we have so much more to give from that place. And yet we want to respect our tiredness and our empty cup when it's occurring. And then come back to those situations where we can be of service after we've given to ourselves first, after we've filled up our cup. I think sometimes, because probably all of us here are helpers in some way, we respect the helping, but we don't always respect, have I got capacity for this right now? How am I doing? And that's why Mark and I continue to want to support everyone in living more from this lovely feeling, getting this feeling for you first, and then bringing it to others. So that's just something that occurred as thanks to your question. Anyone else, or Mark, would you like to, is something coming forward?
Oh, I think this has been beautiful to be with everyone and, to feel the listening. And as you were sharing, Grace, Sid always said, be selfish about your spiritual understanding. And when you find another level of understanding about our true nature and the nature of life, that's where you go beyond yourself to serve. Happiness and these beautiful festive feelings don't make you passive, because they take, when you're in these feelings, you go beyond the level of thinking about yourself. So you start to look to be of help to others. Not that that's what you have to do, but you want to see that you're not becoming passive because you're living in beautiful feelings. Beautiful feelings are just a sign you're thinking way beyond yourself. And in that is the wisdom, the guidance for your next step. That's it. Whether you just go make breakfast for the family, or share your love for someone, or create a project that helps us, a group of people, or do something that is of value to you. It'll just occur to you. It's as simple as that. So I didn't want to share too much more, but just to see the power of dropping into this consciousness of festive feelings.
Yeah.
I just want to say how I appreciate your speaking to everyone in whatever situation they find themselves, because that's of great value, that it makes everyone be okay with whatever situation that they find themselves in, which is going to be different from everyone else. But it opens up that possibility, potential to be okay and to be able to keep moving in a good direction. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
So thanks. I've been listening to Sid more recently, and I remembered this morning that if you turn it on and you listen, things just sort of happen afterwards. I mean, that's the faith you got to have in it. It's not like you're going to understand it. It's not necessary. But I want to remember, just put it on, and then whatever I needed or thought or something like that, just listen, because he's talking beyond the word. That's what I listened to this morning. So if I have old cassettes, but anyone who can get a hold of anything and you're stuck, just put it on. It's available. Thanks. Oops.
Thank you, Monica. Mhm.
Can I just say something?
Yes, Birdie, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Mark. Hi, Grace.
Hi, Birdie.
Yeah, you were talking about when we're in this good feeling, people can feel it, right? And I had an experience of being at an event, a couple of events actually, a couple of years back when I started with Principles. And I was across the room from these people, and they didn't know me. But they came up to my friend and said, "Who is your friend? She's got a beautiful feeling about her, and we'd love to get to know her." And this happened at two different occasions. And it wasn't like I was near them. I was right across the room. They hadn't seen me before. They hadn't known me before, but they could pick up on my feelings. So it's just like to share that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Birdie. Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, we underestimate that in ourselves. We at least I did, in a world that values status and money and looks and all that sort of thing. Actually, it's the feeling that people are most drawn to.
Yeah. 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 Yes. And I noticed that with clients as well. This is what clients are drawn to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I came because I love the way you speak, or I love the feeling about you, I love your energy. It's not
Yeah.
what you say or what you do or anything. It's just, yeah, just in the feeling.
Lovely example. Thank you. Mark, I think we're close to finishing now.
Yes. Yes, we are.
We would encourage you to listen to the replay over the holidays again if you can. The replay will be ready soon. And we just really hope that this has been of help and of service to you. As I said before, Mark and I have been doing this for the last few years. It's like an annual get together now.
Yes.
And so it's our pleasure and our joy to be of service in this way. And we don't have anything in particular beyond today. Mark and I have been running a course called There's More to Life Than Thinking About Yourself. Some of you have been in that. and we're going to put together something for 2024. And when it's ready, we'll let you know. You're probably on our email list at this stage. We'll keep you posted and let you know. And you're also welcome to reach out to myself or Mark as well. I'll make sure in the replay I add Mark's email so that you have that too. Anything you want to finish with, Mark?
Well, I just love being able to share this with all of you, and just again, grateful that Grace and I connected, and have the feeling that we want to share with you, and we've done, we come together to share this with you, and just want you to go off into this wonderful time of the year and enjoy yourselves, and just I'm just thankful that you showed up to hear what we discovered for ourselves, and hopefully it's been helpful. So thank you all for being here. I really love being with all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Well, we'll talk to you all soon, and we wish you a really fabulous festive season. Take care of you and expect happiness.
Yeah.
Lots of love. Bye, everybody.
Bye.